Welcome, everyone, to the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That and founder of The Great Reconnection. And I'm so excited to have here with us today Julie Foucht. I was on her podcast, and I'm so excited to have the listeners hear her life journey, hear what she is here, what she wants for you all today. So, Julie, will you tell us the name of your business?
Yeah, and thank you for having me. It's
You're
really
welcome.
nice to be in your presence again.
Thank you.
My business is the Art of Feminine Business. I'm also the author of the Witchpreneur Quiz, so we call ourselves Witchpreneurs in our community.
I love that. And why did you decide to name your business The Art of Feminine Business?
Well, I think there is this thing that happened when women entered the workplace. And really, it didn't start happening until the 1980s. So I remember that. Some of your listeners may not. But women became like men in pencil skirts, right? They were supposed to walk into business and act like men. We even had the big shoulder pads then, and to make us more beefy. And when women started their own businesses, the same rules applied. Well, men and women are differently, right? Men
So,
have
would
more.
you say when women were just mimicking the roles that they had seen and just in their own businesses reproducing that?
Exactly, because we
Okay.
didn't have any other role models.
Okay.
But women run differently. We hold so many things in our heads. Even when, today I have kids, I have grandkids, the dads are really involved, but most of the time it's the mom who holds everything, who has to be at soccer and when the school has their conferences and what they have to do at work and what they have to do with their business, and then their own body to take care of. And we really run differently, and we hold different energy, and we run on a different cycle. And so for women, this way of doing business like a man costs us a lot. And when I started my coaching practice 20 some odd years ago, I did it like a man. And I really marketed like, I'm going to talk to you about your funnels and I'm going to talk to you about your website. And then I'd be on a call with a client and I'd slip in a little of my magic. And I'd say, well, this sounds like your inner child's in charge. Let's go talk to her. And my clients would be like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And so for me, when I renamed my business and I actually started the Art of Feminine Business, it was really about incorporating all of who we are and all of the different parts within us, and starting from that place of our connection to source, the divine that lives within us, and the different essences of who we are, and then aligning that before we start in with strategy. So
Nice.
often in the business world, it's like, what's the problem? How are we going to solve it? What's the strategy? And no one ever talks about, well, what's the vibrancy of it? What's the energy we're putting into it before we get out there and start posting on Facebook? And so it becomes a much different way of doing business.
I think that's very exciting. I think it's a way of disrupting. I put move out of old patriarchal ways and be inventive and creative on our own terms by what our own soul guidance is. Would you say that that sounds about right?
Yeah, 100%. And we have to tap into the feminine to do that. I mean, how often is that old saying, there's no crying in the boardroom, right? And yet, emotions are a superpower. We should be crying in the boardroom all the time because that tells us, are we on the right path or not? Are our values being stepped on? Is there something happening that's not in alignment for us? Or is it so in alignment that it shows up as tears? A lot of times when I'm coaching my clients, the deepest truths show up for me because I start to tear up and I'm like, oh, this is the deepest for you. This
Mhm.
is really what you're saying has so much resonance. That's what we need to put out in the world.
So you're talking about resonance alignment for frequency and vibration,
A
and then
hundred
move that,
percent.
and then move into strategy. That's brilliant. I love that.
Action comes after we've got all the rest of it lined up.
Beautiful. And why did you choose the word witchpreneur?
Oh, that was such a magical moment. I was creating my magic soul quiz, and I was talking to the teacher about the different kinds of witches. And I really like the word witch for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm reclaiming the word because our society has taken it to mean something really negative. And yet, witch is not a negative word. The witches were the healers. They were the women who were connected to the earth and who were taking care of the earth. They were the midwives. And when the patriarchy came into being in order to um, control that energy, the magic within women, witches became a really negative thing. And so for me, a witch is a woman who's in touch with the divine within her, who is connected to source. And you can use the word witch, you can use the word magic, but is using that connection to create her desires out in the world and to create the reality of this new paradigm. We're creating this new paradigm right now. And so a witch is one who is doing that. And so I was talking about, well, there are some women who their magic is all comes from connecting to the earth and being the herbalist and knowing the plants. And there are some witches who like they just get this spark of magic. And this word witchpreneur came out of the teacher's mouth. And I went, yes. She's like, well, that's your word. That was just came through me. And I think oftentimes when we allow the feminine to flow through us, that kind of divine gift comes. When we are rigidly attached to the way the guru said things must be, we don't leave room for that kind of magic to show up, that kind of witchpreneur or word that you're supposed to use to come through. And so it was really this magical moment.
I love that. I'm really curious about something because you're using the word magic and you're using the word feminine, and I think they sound like they're synonymous to you in a certain way. Tell me if that's true and do a deeper dive for our listeners what you mean by feminine and what you mean by magic, because a lot of people already have ideas of what those
Yeah.
words mean. So I'd like you to break it down and really tell us, what does feminine mean to you? What does magic mean to you? And are they synonymous or synchronistic or something different?
Yeah, I think they support each other. I don't think they're the same thing. So when I'm talking about feminine, I'm talking about the feminine energy. So we all have both feminine and masculine energy. So the feminine energy is the very connected. It is about community. It is about collaboration. It is where creativity comes from. It is the flow in life. It is when you are taking time to stop and meditate. That's coming through your feminine energy.
Okay.
It is very nurturing. And it's also it's about receiving, about opening to receive. And then masculine energy is about the action, taking action. And so when we're in our highest vibration feminine, then we are connected to source. And when I say source, we can call that the universe, we can call that God, goddess. It is that thing from which we all come. And so I call it source energy. And when we are connected to source and allowing ideas and new thoughts and new programs and new things to flow through us, that's very feminine. Now, if all we do is stay in our feminine, we're just going to be like a river flooding the fields. So we need the masculine. So the next thing is to call in our divine masculine, which takes those ideas, those dreams, and puts the walls up, the riverbanks up, says these are the actions that need to be taken in alignment with our creativity in order to birth this in the world. Now, when the masculine is in its lowest vibration, it really becomes a bully. And the masculine says, you must do, you must do, you must go, you must keep going, you must ramp up, you must not stop, you must push through, you must grind, and eventually somehow you'll have success by wearing yourself out. And that's low energy masculine. That's what we've taught businesses. I remember when my kids were little being told, well, if you just work 15 hours a day for 5 or 6 years, you'll be successful. And I was like, I have 4 kids. What are you talking about 15 hours a day? Right? That's an old masculine bully paradigm. When our feminine lights us up, when that new way of doing things comes through, then the energy to take the action is birthed. And it's not about pushing or grinding. It's about this wants to come through. I want to sit down and send that email and make that phone call and create that web page because the energy is just flowing like a river through me, and it needs the riverbanks. It needs to be put out in the world. And so that's kind of the difference between the feminine and the masculine. Now, when I talk about magic, I think it's more about, well, some of it is just like being in source, but the magic is really about how do I then take my connection, my feminine connection to the divine, and what are the rituals and the practices that I put in place to help my masculine take those actions. For instance, doing a new moon intention setting. And we go through the ritual of setting an intention for that moon cycle. And then we design the actions to go with it. And then we decide what we need to let go of to make room for what we're intending to create, right? And there's all these steps that we go through in the process of setting that intention and then manifesting it at the end of the cycle onto the planet, into physical reality. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm talking about magic, I'm talking about, okay, what are the rituals? What are the practices? What are the tools? One of my magic practices is I have a little chart on my desk and I write down every dollar that comes in when it comes in for the whole month. And I will tell you, it just looks like a little spreadsheet on my desk. When I don't do it, my income goes down. Like there's so much magic in just writing down the numbers that focus your attention and open space for more money to come.
Yes, I was going to ask you, what are some of the tools that you see possible for people within this art of feminine business? So you just shared one. What are some of the other tools?
Great. So I think the intention setting, there's some steps to manifesting that I use. Another tool is to actually allow yourself time in the dream space. Mm-hmm. So actually on your calendar, marking down, hey, I'm going to take an hour and go sit outside and be in the what if. One of my favorite tools is to fill the bathtub with beautiful bubble bath and set an intention to release all the energy of the day and to open to whatever source wants to reveal to me. Um, I do sometimes, not as much as I used to, but I do dream analysis where I'll sit down and I'll analyze my dreams and really hear what the parts of me want to say. Practical things like writing down my money, reviewing my P&Ls. That's a magical process to sit down every month and review my profit and loss and do it with gratitude. Wow, look, I spent too much money on that. Thank God I had the money. Thank you. Thank you, source. Thank you, money. Thank you, money, for coming. Like really being in gratitude. When I pay bills, and I will tell you the hardest is the tax bill, but I still make it a practice of allowing myself to put love energy into the bill pay. And, I do it all online now. I'm not actually writing checks, but I still let the hands that touch this money be blessed. And I put that as a magic ritual into paying bills. And what happens, my body relaxes so I can receive more. The energy of money hears that and is like, I love being in Julie's energy. Let's go spend more time with her because I'm putting love into it. And money is an energy, and energy responds to love. And then the people who, whether they know it or not, they're getting that little extra jolt of love as they're processing the payments. And when I'm doing it to pay the taxes, because I don't agree with a lot of what the government does, that's kind of a little harder. But I also want the people who work for the government to have some love because all they get is hate. So I'm like, okay, I'm sending love for them. I'm putting love into this. And I hope that my particular money goes to things that are loving and kind. And that's my intention. So that's another kind of magic practice that I put in. And all of that, opens the space for more money to come. We can only receive, money is abundant, money is part of source, but we can only receive as much as we allow ourselves to receive. And so everything that I can do to open space for more money to flow through me, I do. Not always and not perfectly, because I still get to be a human on the planet, but as part of the practice of, oh yeah, this is what I need to do. Oh yeah, let me open here.
I'm listening to you and really fascinated by the way that you're calling magic in terms of using your attention to attend to something very material and concrete and doing it with gratitude. So there's like almost a holiness in doing your writing down your dollars that you brought in. It's not like you're not just writing down dollars for the sake of writing down dollars in a ledger.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. And I think sometimes people keep the concrete material monetary separate from intention and holiness. And I think that you're bringing a bridge between holiness and the material world. And money is energy, but it's also material, where it provides for the material world. And so it's interesting listening to this. And I'm hoping that listeners are hearing a different way of choosing or a different tool of relating to dollars, or bringing gratitude to the taxes, sending love to the people that are engaging with the taxes, and it changes it. Then we're in relationship with each other. And you talked about the feminine being connection, community. So it's using money as a way to stay connected and in community and keep relationality. It's really fascinating. And I just am also taking a second to go over it because I think it's good for listeners to take the time to digest what you just said, because it's not something I've ever heard before. So I really appreciate you sharing that very much. And I also keep hearing through all the rituals of bringing magic in a practical way that it creates receptivity.
Yes.
It creates grace. It creates reverence and honoring through gratitude and many different things. So it puts us in a different state of consciousness.
I believe that Source, God, Goddess, the universe, did not send us here to suffer. That as souls walking a human being, we are meant to have the most amazing, juicy experiment on the planet. And part of that is to experience the low vibration,
Yes.
fear, pain. Those experiences are part of what our soul came here to experience so that we can also experience the high. So I'm not discounting that. But I'm also saying when we get down to it, what our soul desires and what Source desires for us is love and joy. Source said, how are we going to support that in this? Our souls made up this system that we're in, this patriarch commercial system. Hey, let's bring some money into it so that they have the resource to be able to live this life, so that they have the resource to be able to build the businesses that are changing the world, that are changing the paradigm, so that they have the resources to leave a legacy for generations that come.
So we're disrupting, I call it white supremacy and systems of, dominance and oppression to generate to generate legacy of a different vibration and frequency. I love that. And I think so much of, I call it white supremacy, is based on individualism and divisiveness. And what you're talking about is connectivity and community. Life energies in everyone and everything. The source is in everyone and everything. And social systems create false realities about that, as some people have more value than others, and they don't. That's just not, in Source's eyes, that is human made, not source made. And
Yeah.
I think that also what I'm hearing you say is that no matter what's happening externally, internally, we can have access to this abundant, radiant, joyful, hopeful state of consciousness that is independent of the outside world, so that we're not having the outside world rule us, but governing the way we want to determine our own experience of being here. Would you say that's true?
100%. We're going, and in our country, we're really seeing it. And I know a lot of my clients are really feeling sort of the divisiveness that is happening. And the reason for that is because humanity's done with the patriarchy. We tried it, we played that game, and now we're at a place where we're saying, let's play a different game. Let's create a new game. And my hope is that we're creating a game where we have this connectedness, where we have the masculine and the feminine working together for the betterment of the planet. That's the game I'm trying to create. But the patriarchy doesn't want to be done with us. And so what we're really seeing is this battle, the patriarchy, as we are out here creating a new game. And my belief is that we came here at this time on the planet to do this work. And our job is to hold to the work we know we are here to do and not get lost in the chaos and the swirl. Because part of holding on to patriarchy, if it can lose us in the chaos and the swirl, then we'll get distracted from our work.
Absolutely.
Now, some weak people, that work includes putting on frog suits and going and dancing in Portland in the streets at night. For some people, their work is, standing up there and giving a speech. That's not everybody's work. And we cannot lose ourselves. And maybe you do want to go to the protests, and that's great. And I love that for you. But you cannot lose yourself to it, and you cannot lose your purpose, your mission. You still have to do the work you came here, because what will happen is when enough of us are tapping into our own divinity, our own magic, doing our work, there'll be a tipping point and the new game begins.
It's so interesting because I was just, I'm going to give a shout out to Molly Jones here. I was just with her in New York, and she's been on the podcast before, but she was talking about where like there's two different earths right now. There's the old earth and there's this new earth being born, and people are either going to come to the new earth or they're not. But like,
Yeah.
I loved, isn't that a great way of, that imagery is what you're saying right now. There is enough consciousness coming together with what you're saying that like a new earth is forming, and not everyone will come,
Yeah.
but you're an invitation and a pathway to help support people coming. And I always say when I'm teaching, I'm like, if you want to be a social justice warrior, own your own radiance. Tune into your own soul power. It's the most disruptive thing you can do. I mean, I agree, like I've been to protests and stuff, but if I'm not radiating magnetism and power and love and interconnectedness, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I have to, if I'm going to go to a protest, I have to go like that, So what are we embodying? What are we producing? Because we are magnetism. And so whatever we are radiating, it's infectious and magnetic and compelling. And I think that's what you're inviting in as well through your own pathway and your own understanding.
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I love to ask my guests, because this podcast is called The Purpose for Life, and you've talked about it some, but I'm just going to ask you to reflect on it one more time. What do you think the purpose for life is?
I actually think it's our souls playing. I think our souls are saying, what would happen if this? Let's go to the planet to find out. So that's kind of like the big meta view is our souls are down here playing and learning and expanding that soup of all that is in ways that are just really delicious and wonderful. I think that when we are born to the planet, we actually come already with the work that we're meant to do down here. So we come and we say, hey, I'm going to line up some people and I'm going to have some wounding experiences. So I learn how to do certain things. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to take this thing that needs to be done on the planet. I'm going to guide people to doing that thing that needs to be done on the planet. And then other people are like, yes, yes, we want you to do that. We'll come follow you. And then you can help us do our thing. And I actually think for her souls, it's just this like deep, deep love of the experiment and the learning and the what if, what are the possibilities? What are the possibilities for the all?
That's wonderful. In the work of the Great Reconnection, and it's in the book, it's deeper than that. We're saying that our soul is operating through form to remember itself, and that we're designed to return and remember that we're a radiant soul. And it's playing here, and we can choose to remember or not, but we are designed to remember. So
Yeah,
we can either know it or not.
I agree with you.
Awesome. What lasting message would you like to impart to our listeners?
Money wants you all to know that money wants to come and play. It
Right.
wants to be a partner. It wants to be a partner in you expressing yourself in the world, in you doing your work in the world, that it is here for you. Money loves you. And as you learn to embrace money, as you learn to embrace your divine feminine, to be in the place of what else is possible for me.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Julie Foucht. How can our listeners get a hold of you?
First of all, we have a Facebook group, very active, Feminine Business Magic on Facebook. We do a lot of free stuff. We're getting ready to do a couple of free ritual, like week-long ritual events now. They can also take the Witchpreneur Quiz to find out how their unique magic is designed to help them make more money in the world. And you can go to my website at juliefoucht.com. It's right there. You can look up Witchpreneur Quiz and find the quiz there.
Great. Well, you'll be sending us the links. So when the podcast comes out, we'll have links for everyone. I want to thank you once again for being here. And thank you, listeners, for listening here today with Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That and founder of The Great Reconnection. And the documentary, It's Deeper Than That, is now embedded in the book portal. So go watch the documentary. Thank you so much.